Hello and welcome to a conversation in the Daily Bern. I'm your host, Eric Miller, joined today by a guy that I actually know in real life, an awesome advocate for the people, a fierce and fiery progressive from the great state of Pennsylvania, from Northeast Philly to be specific, Mr. Mike Doyle. How you doing, Mike?
I'm good, Eric. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for chatting with me, especially especially from the beach. You mentioned before we went live that this is your self-care day, so I'm appreciative that you interrupted it to chat with little old me. And this is
Yeah.
my first interview from the beach, so I'm pretty excited about that. I'm a little jealous
Well,
too.
to be a little bit more specific, I'm actually at Corson's Inlet. It's on the other side of the beach, so we're down here. But I come here for just to get recharged and Sundays and Saturdays are always a big day when you're campaigning. So Mondays
Uh,
is kind of a regrouping day, and I think it's important to get my spiritual meditation access back to normal so I can, plow through the week.
I love it. Yeah. And again, thanks for taking some time to chat through that. Uh, So you're running for a PA House seat 170, which is like Northeast Philly. And I'll pull up the map of the district here shortly. It's one of those fun gerrymandered ones that looks like a spaceship or something, right?
Yeah,
Got
it
a
does.
Millennium Falcon look to it. But
It
um,
does.
so you ran in 2018 for this same seat against this same incumbent. What did you learn from that race that you're applying or doing differently this time around?
Well, we had an interesting entrance into the race that I did some, you know, I thought about running earlier on in the cycle, and uh, the
Lost your audio. There we go.
yeah, my mother was going to move in with us, and after talking to the powers that be at Harrisburg and the city committee and Democratic City Committee in Philadelphia and some of the ward leadership, uh, our family just decided that running a campaign was just not going to be a feasible thing to do. So we did not run originally, and then things changed in our personal life, and I was able to kind of jump back in. My mother had passed away in April of this year, so it was yeah. Well, you know what? She was, God bless her soul, one of the reasons why I come down here. She had moved down to North Wildwood, and she always just wanted to live down by the shore. And I kind of come here to be close to her, and it's a personal thing for me to do that, to maintain that connection. But she really, really, really was not a fan of Donald Trump, and she was a diehard Democrat. I'm definitely my mother's son in that respect, and I kind of looked at the situation, and my opponent was running unopposed, and I said, well, let's see if we can't do a write-in campaign. And we were successful in mounting that write-in campaign, and we're able to get in to the race again. We needed 300 write-ins, and we achieved that and then some. So we're able to get in to run again, but it was very late in the cycle. So to go back to your initial question, fundraising is the
Right.
unfortunate aspect of running for office. So we had a big lag in fundraising because I could not really go to a donor that was, that had deep pockets, or maybe wanted to support a progressive candidate like myself, and say I need $2,000 or I need $1,000, or in Pennsylvania, the unfortunate reality is there actually is no campaign contribution limit. So if there happens to be a millionaire progressive, reach out. We'll take as much money as you can dole over, because the reality of what you learned the first time around in 2018 is that as a candidate, the two things you must do, other than self-care and not losing it, maintaining a, for me, maintaining a centeredness purpose of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And the most important thing a candidate can do is fundraise and talk to donors. And that's what I, as a candidate, have been focusing on since we were certified at the end of June. So we really only been fundraising since July, the beginning of July. And, I'm happy to say we're just about at that $50,000 mark. And that is without any institutional donors. No, we have not received, we have received some union nods and endorsements. And but that is without any of their gracious and we're very grateful for any of the financial contributions that they can give. But that's just from friends and family and allies and people that believe in the race and believe in progressive politics and believe in the fight that we're doing. So the other thing we learned from 2018 is that it's so important to have a very, very, very organized field plan to execute and have good people that are organizing that field plan. So we have a really great team we received some help and direction from Reclaim Philadelphia. We were recently endorsed by Reclaim Philadelphia. And also PA Stands Up, which is a super great new coordinated progressive group that is supporting many, many candidates throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And we're so grateful for having their help. And they were able to mentor and coach our field director, Ron Joseph. And he's been spot on with everything. And we've been fortunate enough also to have a really good campaign manager with Deani Martinez. Another friend that's been helping with volunteer coordination, I think that you may know, is Ty Brown. So we're really fortunate to have them on. And a bunch of people from the Philly for Bernie endeavor that was the organizing, the mass organizing group for Bernie Sanders in Philadelphia. Have shown a lot of support for our efforts in the 170th, and we have been adding them on as well, one by one. So that's really what we learned, just to make sure that we're hitting our goals, getting really, really targeted goals that we can hit, meeting that and being successful in that. So far, we're doing that. So just continuing on.
Right on. And, one thing that I always point out, a lot of candidates, like it just happened with Cori Bush, right? Name recognition goes a long way, and you are very active in the community.
Yes.
And I want to talk about some of the things, you're always out at food banks delivering food. You're very engaged in the addiction sort of recovery community and, union causes. You're always out in the neighborhood. And not to shake hands, not to self-aggrandize, but because these are things that you believe in, and I witnessed it firsthand, and that goes a long way. And running in 2018, you have this name recognition that hopefully you're getting more. It's less cold calling and more. Oh, I know, Mike. A little bit more response this time around. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So we are fortunate to be a second-time candidate. The last Democrat that held the seat that I'm running for in the 170th was our now Congressman Brendan Boyle, who actually has been a really good ally of Bernie Sanders and Rep. Jayapal with endorsing Medicare for All and the Green New Deal with Congressperson Alexandria. What's her name? I don't know. Some freshman congresswoman from like
that's her right there.
I don't know, right?
Right.
AOC's beautiful Green New Deal. I mean, the progressive squad in Congress really has been great. And to have a congressperson that's co-signed those bills and to support that has been it's been great. It really has. And we're talking with the congressman to get his support. We think we will. And but it took him 3 times to win this seat when he ran for it. I think our district is a district that says, all right, you're an upstart, you're a newcomer. We're going to keep our eye on you and see what you're made of and see what you're about. And And I think, like, going back to what you said, being in the community, not just for the, the selfies and it's a part of my recovery. I'm in recovery from alcohol and substance use disorder since November of 2013. And for me, I learned early on that service secures sobriety, at least for me. And another big aspect of that recovery for me is an intense spiritual connection to my higher power. I find that here in the outdoors. I am an environmentalist at heart as well. So, being outside is very important for me. I think it recharges my soul. But yeah, I think, like, for me, it's just being centered, being helpful. When COVID hit, I was already a volunteer at the local nonprofit that's called Caring for Friends, that delivers meals to seniors and to inbound and people who are just unable to get out. So
Right.
I was just picking up my meals for a friend that was going to deliver, and I saw the director, and he said, "We need help." And I said, "All right, well, I'll get on that." And through that initial conversation, was able to work with one of the city council members in city council in Philadelphia, and he was able to get his team activated. Can't say enough about Bobby Heenan. Council member Bobby Heenan really stepped up and helped out this nonprofit that just needed to get the food out to people. And his team, it was great learning from somebody who was established and how to organize and get, people things that they needed when we were shut down. It was, one of those things. And I remember the director said, well, I said, listen, I said, I thrive in these type of situations. And I do. I can't sit back and not do anything. I think that's why I run for office, because I see so many issues, especially from from the things that we as progressive champion, the inequality, the systemic racism in our city and in our commonwealth and our institutions. What I I don't want to talk bad about anybody, and my opponent is a nice enough person, but I don't see that type of leadership coming from the direction or what she is leading from. I mean, we have a different, I think that those who are most vulnerable in our community, and a House district in Pennsylvania has about 60,000 people. There are a lot of people that are suffering, and especially now in COVID, where you have the GOP that doesn't, that has, the misinformation that has come out, and it's terrible that protective equipment, masks, social distancing, a lot of these things the GOP just does not believe in. And so many people have been sick, and, I've known people who've died. It just breaks my heart that we have a political system in this country that comes down to, let's win this race and cause misinformation. So people, lives can be a danger, but just as long as we win. And I see her without masks at events, and it just worries me that that connection with the community. There's like this, the GOP and Trump, and they just don't seem to care. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit more about her, but let's pull up your district, because a lot of districts are intentionally vague and gerrymandered and whatnot it's a voter suppression tactic, right? So it's PA House 170. It's got a lobster claw or Millennium Falcon look to it, but
yes, definitely.
It's northeast Philly, so I guess this is kind of like the Woodhaven area, sort of outside of Ben Salem a little bit. Tell us about your district. Tell us about PA 170. What's here?
So the 170th is it abuts Bucks County and parts of Montgomery County. So we have Ben Salem, Southampton, Trevose surrounding us, Huntington Valley, Pine Valley. But the proper neighborhoods in our district are Parkwood, Somerton, Bustleton, Millbrook, parts of Chalfont, which is locally known. A lot of people think of the Bucks County proper Chalfont, but there's a neighborhood called Chalfont, believe it or not, and it's in Northeast. Parts of Walton Park. There's definitely parts of Walton Park in there. Parts of let's see, Madeira. Modena Park. Parts of Morel Park, and for the most part, I would say that our district is comprised mainly of, the demographics breakdown in probably around 80% white, and then maybe like 16% black, and then there's a big, huge South Asian community now. A lot of Indians, Pakistanis, some
Right.
Muslim communities that are growing in our district. But I think, by and large, it's a very Catholic district. There's a Catholic school, Archbishop Ryan, that lies within the district, and
Right.
a lot of students go there. A lot of families go there. There's a lot of a lot of people in that district kind of grow up there, and then maybe they buy the neighbor's house, or maybe they buy their parents' house. So we have a lot of generational ties in the district, and a lot of union families, a lot of police, a lot of firefighters, a lot of city workers. I think that the majority of the district, a lot of the employees of the city of Philadelphia had moved there and lived there because it was pretty quiet and pretty close to Bucks County. I think it was as close to Bucks County and Montgomery County as you can get without leaving the city. So
Right.
that's kind of, I think, the traditional makeup.
Right on. Cool. So let me just pull up your website since I'm here. I always like to highlight your website, candidate's website. So it's Mike Doyle 4 pa.com. Obviously, you can donate. You can sign up to volunteer. I'm assuming you have phone banking and text banking and whatnot. So
yes, if obviously the great thing about all the this campaign cycle is that you generally really rely on people to help out that are close to the district, because we need to canvass. But if anybody from Arizona is listening and watching, then they can certainly sign up and text bank with us and sign up for a shift to do phone banking. I mean, we will gladly take every bit. We are actually we just as a campaign endorsed the We the People campaign in Pennsylvania. And they have a lot of great policies and initiatives, and we're actually going to be publishing all of that on our website this week. So feel free to keep coming by and checking out the website. We will be adding onto it this week with some endorsements as well. But we certainly have our donation link live, and our volunteer link is live as well.
Awesome. Yeah. And just for anybody outside of the area, who are these crazy cats with all this plumage? This is not New Orleans. Who are these guys?
Yeah, so I was raised in the Philadelphia tradition of mummery, and you know what? It's an interesting story. I think for anybody that has, I think growing up as someone who grew up in the Philadelphia area in a Philadelphia tradition, you have these certain prejudices and implicit biases, and a lot of oftentimes, racist type of attitudes. And when you're stuck in, like, what I've learned is when you stay within these communities and you don't branch out and try to meet people from other communities, you don't have the opportunity to expand your worldview. So
Right.
I came to realize that a lot of times growing up, like I would, not think anything of, you know, myself being, as a Democrat, as somebody who was supportive of affirmative action policy and stuff like that, that I would be racist in any way, or if I had any implicit biases. And, luckily when I was able to get sober, I was able to really look inside myself and do an introspective like review of like, hey, this is the way you think about things. And
Yeah.
it was great to be able to do that. And that's another thing that I really hope to be able to do is to, become an elected official in a district that I think can benefit from having somebody who went through that change, who went through
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm a Philadelphian, but and I also realized that there are other parts of the city that we need to know about and help out and be a better city for that. And as an elected official, that's exactly what I'll do, and I really look forward to doing that.
That's great. Yeah, that journey never ends. You know that, right?
No.
You're always checking yourself, right? There's always, new things that might unfold, right? Or a term that you
Yes.
may have used yet, last year, but this year you realize that it's offensive or, not as sensitive as it could be or whatever. And I admire your motivation to, not only continue that self-discovery, but to apply that to public service. I think that's a tremendous thing. So kudos to you on that. And that brings me to the incumbent, right? So the incumbent is the exact opposite of that. I was watching some clips with her around the George Floyd protest era, and she's using the Trumpian sort of language about the protests being, riots and fear mongering and all that type of stuff. Can you talk about, and I guess she opposed Philadelphia as a sanctuary city and whatnot. Can you talk about, contrast yourself with her on, racial justice, Black Lives Matter, those things?
Yeah, I mean, I really think it's important that we don't judge anybody or any institution uh, based on propaganda and politics. That, I was interviewed when they had a rally at the FOP when Pence was there. And I went there to support people because I felt that in my own neighborhood, it was important to show up for friends who were there for various different reasons. And I think, sorry, little waves are coming in. You hear that?
I do.
But, I said, you know, this is the direct difference, I think, between my opponent and myself. You can support Black Lives Matter and you can support, good police, and reform. And, but I don't think that my opponent does. I do. I think that it's important to understand why people are so upset and what historically terrible, how terrible it is to have institutions that are built within a racist structure. And if you don't pick those things apart and really look at why they are there,
Right.
historically and culturally, why we have certain institutions and why they were set up in the first place, and you have to go backwards to break them down, to change that. You can't just change from 10 years or 20 years ago. You have to go back to the beginning. You have to acknowledge those things. And, it does a disservice when somebody only looks at one side of an issue. I want to look at all sides of every issue and, hear all the voices that come out, not just one voice. I mean, we are not just one community. That's divisiveness. I think when I ran in 18 and what I learned again this time around was we have to unite as a district and as a city. And if we don't, we're going to be doomed to fail. I mean, we have catastrophic environmental and ecological devastation happening. We had a tornado in my neighborhood, and it literally affected my house.
Yeah.
That's not normal weather patterns. And we have violence and outright racism that's being accepted now, and anger and hatred and vitriol, and I just don't think that's right. And another thing is, for me, when I got sober, I realized that there are a lot of things that different religious teachings, and I was raised Catholic, and they teach you how to be a better person, how to be a better human being. And I'm saying, from Buddha to Jesus, any religious teacher has some value in there. And when you look at Jesus's approach to the immigrant and to people who are searching for a better life, you have to go, why are we a sanctuary city? Why was this even an issue? And it's because people were coming from a terrible life. And I thought that's why our country was, so great. And to have people championing a nationalistic, fascist way of living is, for me, scary and, pretty abhorrent. And I just don't think that we need to live in that type of life anymore.
Yeah. Let me ask, so that's a beautiful message. Obviously, they say from a marketing perspective that a message takes like 7 times for it to take hold, right? Have you heard that?
Yeah.
So when you're communicating with constituents with this message, I'm getting a lot of interference.
Well, we need to raise more money to do that effectively. So if any of your listeners can donate $5, $10, $3,000, $400,000, I mean, and that's the thing about campaigning, is the more money you have, the more opportunities you have to reach the electorate. So we do have a mailing plan that we should be able to touch most voters, definitely that many times, through texting, through phone banking, and we will be doing some lit drops and socially distant canvassing as well. Generally myself. We don't want to tell our volunteers and our staff that they need to go out and risk their health and safety or the safety of our voters.
Of course. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of feedback. So let me kind of wrap it up a little bit. So just, final questions again, donations, if you can volunteer, it's mikedoyle4pa.com, right, is your website. People can sign up, people can phone bank. Any chance of a debate? Have you been reaching out for a debate?
All right, Eric. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, well, my battery's dying.
Right on, no worries. All right, so mikedoyle4pa.com. Thank you, brother. Catch up with you soon.
Always good to see you, Eric. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye. Can you hear me now?